Hi everybody, I'm Al and I'm here with Father Geoff, and we're here today to talk about Catholic style ceremonies. Catholic style ceremonies are very popular for people who want to have that Catholic feel of the ceremony but aren't able to go through the church for many different reasons. Whether they're having it outdoors at a location or they simply come from different faiths but still want that Catholic feel. So I'm here with Father Geoff to talk both about how to get that Catholic ceremony and also how to have a Catholic ceremony, what the elements are of a Catholic ceremony, that we can bring to you, those blessings, the wonderment, the things that you are brought up with, and make it wonderful and loving and caring. So welcome.
Well, thank you, Al. You know, it's interesting as you were speaking, I thought of an old Monsignor in our diocese that I work with. He's dead now, so I can use his name, Monsignor Tacey. And oftentimes he'd have couples come to him because they wanted to get married in the church, but they would have to get an annulment. Mm-hmm. And an annulment, it takes about a year to 2.5 years after you submit all the testimony, which is like 37 essay questions, 4 witnesses.
And we're talking about a church annulment, not a legal annulment.
A church annulment.
Right.
But you need to get the church annulment of a previous wedding before you can get married in the church. Mm-hmm. And so it's a very entailed process. It takes a long time, and it's difficult for a Catholic who has fallen in love with a non-Catholic. Right. Because the non-Catholic also has to get the annulment for a previous marriage or marriages, right. And each one has to be annulled. It takes a long time. And I remember Monsignor Tacey used to make a fake number for an annulment decision and put it into the book by the marriage register, because he was an elderly priest. He knew that if he did jump through all the hoops, right, that they would get the piece of paper, but they'd have to postpone marriage many years, and sometimes it was a hardship, a big hardship, mm-hmm, on the Catholic party. So, Jesus said something interesting. He said that the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. Mm-hmm. And so all of these laws and things are there to serve us. We are not there to serve them. It's like the story of the wicked stepsister and Cinderella. You don't cut the foot to fit the shoe. Right. You get a shoe that fits the foot.
Oh, exactly. And that's kind of what we're doing, is yes, we're creating this shoe, yeah, for our couples. Now, Father Geoff is a former Catholic priest. You were in the priesthood for how many years?
I was ordained a priest on the 1st of June of 1985. I served in my diocese for 23 years as a priest, and then my staff asked me to make a statement about Prop 8. Right. Of moral guidance to the community, because the community was divided, and I explained that morally I could not vote yes on Prop 8. And so I was removed as pastor and suspended as a priest. I'm still a priest. Right. I'm just suspended. So
so the ceremonies that you perform, they're not approved by Rome, but you have all of the knowledge from what you've learned through the years.
What I do is basically what you would get at any Catholic church.
Right.
It is a Catholic marriage rite.
Now, a couple of things that are required to have a Catholic marriage at the Catholic Church is you have to have it on church grounds, right? For the most part, the priests won't leave the church grounds to have a ceremony.
You have to have it at the parish church, and this is difficult because a lot of people want a wedding at a certain venue. They wanted a garden wedding at their grandmother's house or whatever.
Right. On the beach or wherever.
Wherever they want it, and so you have to go to the church. And these have to do with canon law and jurisdiction. They want to make sure that, I'm not in somebody else's parish doing a wedding and I didn't get the proper approvals and everything else. So it's a way of, making sure that the letter of the law is met. Right. But again, it's what we were talking about, the shoe and foot.
The other part of it is if both couples or both members of the couple are not both Catholics.
Yeah.
You can't get married in a Catholic church if one person is not Catholic. You could, but there's a lot of hoops you'd have to jump through.
You would have to, basically the Catholic party is required to promise to raise the children in the faith. Right. And the non-Catholic has to be aware that this promise is being made by the Catholic party. So the big problems that I saw real world while I was still involved in active ministry in the church was that the annulment thing, because you can't even get married, never mind where, until these annulments are done. And in the Archdiocese of Los Angeles at the time, it was a 2.5-year wait from the time that you applied. And imagine doing 37 essay questions about your childhood growing up, the other person's childhood growing up, when you were dating, what happened on your marriage night, as far as sexually.
Right.
And then talking about after marriage, what were the issues, and the final separation and divorce. For most individuals, it was a heart-wrenching thing. And to ask a non-Catholic, your non-Catholic partner to do that,
Right.
when they don't even know, why is it you people have to do all this, it caused a lot of, I remember one woman, she went through all of this, she finally got the annulment, but the priest she talked to had failed to ask her if her person she wanted to marry, who was a Protestant,
Right.
had been married previously, and he had been. So then, basically, she had to go through all of that again, and now imagine that you're her Protestant partner person,
Right.
you know? And he sees her coming home in tears.
What do you do?
You know, what does that do to you internally? And you know, this is a woman you love, and she's crying because she's gone through all these hoops, and now she's been told she's back at square one, and now she's sitting there asking you to jump through all these hoops.
And it's not that easy of a thing, because the
No.
whole marriage process is not easy.
Well, and there's so much duplicity with that. There was a book written by an attorney in the 1980s, Annulment, Your Chance to Remarry in the Catholic Church, which, you know, it's legalism in the extreme. If
Right.
if you were married in England or Germany or Mexico, forget about an annulment. You're not going to get one.
Right.
The United States, they give them out like green stamps, which
Right.
Rome got really upset. The Roman Rota, which is like the Supreme Court of the Catholic Church, got really upset with the American Church. But the American Church is like a cash cow for the Vatican, so they sort
Right.
of look the other way.
Look the other way, right.
You know, but the reality is that a lot of people who've gotten annulments, 2, 3, 4 annulments in the Catholic Church and remarried, if they lived in England or in Germany or in Mexico, forget it, baby, it's not going to
Right,
happen.
it's not going to happen.
So, and the answer to those people that the Council of Trent said is, well, you know, they're still your husband or you're still your wife, and you just have to
live
offer
with
it up.
Right.
You know.
Other parts of challenges that you have to go through are final confirmation and things like that. Are you able to get married if you haven't had your final confirmation in the Catholic Church?
Well,
There's some challenges with that too.
When people come in, because some people don't practice,
Right.
and so they'll come in to get married, and you find out they haven't made their first communion, they haven't made their confirmation. So what happens in an average parish is that the priest or the pastor will ask them to sign up for RCIA, which is a year-long course that starts in most parishes typically in the fall and concludes at Easter. And you have to go like once a week for the 9 months, and then you will get confirmed, or you will get. But I mean, I have confirmed people in our hospital rooms because they never
Right.
got confirmed. And then there's also prenuptial classes.
Right.
Canon law requires 8 hours of prenuptial class for anybody getting married.
Mhm.
Now, I've run into couples where, like, one is a police officer and one's a nurse, and their schedules are erratic, they're constantly changing, so they can't come every week on Tuesday night at 8,
Right.
and then they end up not being able to get married. So, again, it's what we talked about earlier about making the shoe fit the foot, and some pastors work with that, and they're very, very good.
Mhm.
Some are,
A little more strict
this is
and
the
straight
law,
down the line,
and
right.
this is the way it has to be.
So I think the thing that we offer here is we have the ability to take one of our people who has been trained in a Catholic church, knows the prayers, knows the ideology of the entire process, be able to present that to somebody and make it very cool and easy, give them the blessings they want without having to jump through all the hoops.
Well, you know, ultimately it's a matter of faith. And I look at, if you read the Gospels and you read them without stained glasses, and you look at the life of Jesus, one of the issues Jesus had in his time was with the religious authorities of his day. Because when they were Jewish, but he was looking at what the prophets were teaching, what was the heart of what Moses had to say. And what had happened is the religious authority had separated that from the heart of the message.
Right.
And so religion became a series of laws that had to be obeyed instead of addressing the heart and addressing the spirit of people. And I think that if you come into, I mean, the reason I went to seminary, the reason I had a conversion experience as a young person, was because you believe the heart of the message. And these other things, rules and laws, are meant to serve that,
Right.
not get in the way of that. And when it gets in the way of that, then you've made an idol of the thing, and you've forgotten what is essential. What is
Right.
essential.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. When you're believing in something, when you have belief in something, you have to suspend belief in some cases to understand how this is going to affect you. Your belief in your God is strong. Many people's belief in their God is strong, but sometimes the church or the governing body doesn't allow them to feel that feeling that they really want to feel about their belief. So they're not able to do it. So they have these constraints put upon them by the church as far as getting married.
Well, marriage wasn't even, regulated by the church until the Lateran Council in 1215.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's the first 1,200 years of Christianity. We weren't in the marriage business.
Right.
And what affects a marriage is the two people
Right.
exchanging vows. The priest or a deacon is simply the officiant. They're officiating the ceremony, but the people that are affecting the ceremony are the two individuals and they do that by exchanging vows.
Right.
So that's the heart of marriage, is two people who look each other in the eye and say, as long as I have the use of my mind,
Right.
I will be there with and for you,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And that's the greatest gift a person can give in this life
And
or
receive.
receive in this life.
Exactly.
So
Something we
that's
were
what
talking about earlier today is the ability to love and the ability to be loved.
Yeah.
And when you have a couple coming together, they've found this ability to love and to be loved. And so our job as officiants, whether it be for the full Catholic Mass, for the Christian ceremony, for the Jewish ceremony, for whatever type of ceremony they have, is showing them that their love for each other is paramount.
Well, at the end of the day, I remember when my grandmother died, and I was with my grandfather at the cemetery in Illinois. They were born in Spain, and then they ended up in the United States, which is not their wildest dreams to they would think they would be here. But he looked down at the grave and he said, "We don't know where our bones will rest."
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about that because when they were young, that's the last thing they imagined. I mean, who knows? You could end up in Japan. Who knows where life could take you? But the beautiful thing about marriage is that somebody gifts themselves to you.
Right.
And you gift yourself to them, and you're saying, I'm going to be here on life's journey with you.
Mm-hmm.
And you can count on me. And that changes everything. It's like being on a long drive by yourself,
Right.
or in a long drive with a friend or somebody that you love in the car. And they may be quiet, but it's different because they're there. And I think
Right.
that's what marriage is. Marriage is that you're not alone.
Right.